Hey guys, UE4 here. Welcome to another tutorial video. Today you will learn how to create a highly adjustable landscape material with various layers, including displacement maps and settings with the help of Quixel Bridge. Have fun watching! Alright, so I've already created a new map based on the default template, but before we start we need to install the Quixel Bridge plugin. Therefore, open up your browser and go to quixel.com/bridge and click on Download Bridge. You don't have to pay anything for it as an Unreal Engine user, and you also can log in with your Epic Games credentials on the website and in the software itself. Once you are in Bridge, we will install the plugin by clicking on the gear wheel in the bottom right corner. Then go to Export Settings and under Export Target select Unreal Engine. For the engine version, select the version you're working with. For me it is 4.26. And for the plugin location, choose your Unreal Engine install folder. Then your version folder, for me it's 4.26. And then engine plugins. You can also set up your project folder if you want. And below the settings, you can then click on the install button. Click it and you should see a check mark which says installed. At this point you have to go back to your editor and under plugins search for Megascans, enable it with the checkbox and restart the editor and go back to Bridge. Next we will select the materials from Bridge we want to use for our landscape material, so go to Surfaces and select, let's say, a grass material and choose any material you want here and then click on Download in the bottom right. Then also choose a rock material. Click on it and download it as well in the bottom right. I've already downloaded two materials which are then under the local option like you see here. I've selected the rocky step material and the clover patches on grass material. Select both of them and in the bottom right you should see an export button. You also have the option to select the export resolution of the textures here. I'll leave the 8K resolution selected. Then make sure your Unreal Engine editor is still open and finally click on the export button to send the materials to Unreal Engine. Once you're back in the editor, you should see a folder named Megascans. All your exported materials will be available here in the Surfaces folder. You will also see a MS Preset folder. This is the location where all your master materials and functions from Quixel Bridge are saved. Next, create a new folder in which we will create all the materials and material functions for our landscape. I've already did this. We will use the landscape material tutorial folder. When we are done, this folder will include subfolders for each landscape layer with all the material functions we need per layer, a folder for the map data, the landscape master material and a material instance of it. Alright, so let's start. The first step is to create a new folder. Do a right click, new folder, name it map. Then we will prepare our scene. We don't need this floor here, so select it and delete it. Next, click on modes in the top bar and select landscape to open the landscape creation settings. For our tutorial we don't need a big landscape, but it's totally up to you. In my case I will set the number of components to 1 by 1. Then I will also move the floor a bit below the starting point, that the player doesn't fall through the floor. And then click on Create in the Landscape tab to create the landscape. Wait for the landscape to be created. And as you see, the scene is a bit too bright, so we need to add a post-process volume to fix that. Click on Place Actors tab, search for post-process and drag and drop it into your scene. Now to edit the settings of it, switch back to the select mode from the top bar and select the volume. Under the details tab, search for unbound and click on the checkbox for infinite extent unbound. Also search for exposure and set the checkbox for the min and the max brightness and set both to 1. Now our scene is nicely lit for our needs. Next, select the player start, and to align it with the floor I got a quick tip for you. Just click on the End key of your keyboard and your actors will snap to the floor. Now to save the map, click on the Save button in the top bar and head to the folder we already created. and also give the map a name. Let's say landscape mud map, and click on save. Next we will start to create our material. In my case I will create a landscape with 2 layers, that the tutorial doesn't take too long, but the steps are the same for each landscape layer, so you can create how much layers you want. To prepare both of the layers I will create 2 new folders. Do a right click, folder, and name it layer 01. Do a right click again, select folder and name it layer 02. Now to create our landscape material, do another right click in the content browser, search for materials and textures and select material. Give it a name, let's say landscape master underscore mud. Open the material with a double click. We don't want to use all the input pins because we will use material functions. Under the details panel, search for the material attributes checkbox and click it. Now scroll all the way down to the tessellation settings and set the drop down to flat tessellation. Also make sure that the crack-free displacement isn't checked, because when it is, the displacement map will be stretched to our whole landscape and you will barely see a displacement effect. Alright, next we create a new node, do a right click and search for landscape and select the landscape layer blend node and click it. Now go to the left under the details panel and click on the plus icon to create 2 new layers. And for the first layer we name it to layer 01 and name the second layer to layer 02. And connect the output pin of the layer blend node to the input pin of the landscape material mud. And this is all the preparation we need to do right now. So click on apply in the top bar. An arrow comes up, so you just click on continue. Wait for the material to be compiled. Click on save. Go back to your map and in the content browser under MS presets, open the default material displacement folder and open the material there with a double click. Scroll a bit out to see all the nodes, because we will use exactly the same nodes in our landscape material. Select all of them, except the output node here, all of those. Hit Ctrl C on your keyboard to copy them. Head back to your map to see the content browser, search for your created folder. And in there, open the layer 01 folder with a double click. Do a right click there and under materials and textures, search for the material function node and click it. Give it a name, just type in layer 01, hit enter. Open the function and in here we just hit Ctrl V on the keyboard to paste all the nodes we've previously copied. Then connect the output pin of MS Displacement to the input pin of the result node. Now we will start replacing all the existing functions with our material functions and give those a unique name. And in each of our functions we also need to set unique group names and parameter names that we have access to each of those parameters in our final landscape material instance. And this step needs to be done for all the landscape layers separately, but no worries, once we have one layer ready, we can copy a lot of stuff to quickly add several other landscape layers. Alright, so let's start renaming all of them. We will start with the textures, so click on the albedo texture here and set a parameter name. Let's just add layer 01 before the albedo text. Just copy the layer 01 text with a space. And in the group, mark all of the text and replace it with layer 01, let's say textures. We will use this group name for all of the other textures, so mark all of the other textures in the material. And under the group dropdown, click it and select the layer 01 textures. And also set the parameter name for each individual texture, like the metalness will get the layer 01 text before it. Also the roughness, just copy over layer 01. The normal map exactly the same. Same goes for the detail normal. And finally for the displacement parameter name, just copy layer 01. Then in the next step we will replace all of the material functions like the tiling ones here, also the map adjustments and the displacement material function. To do so we need to go back to our content browser, scroll down to the MS presets folder here and click on the displacement folder and open up the functions. And now we will select all the functions we need, like the detail normal tiling and the MF tiling here. Search your layer 01 folder and drag and drop it in there. Do a copy here. Now go back to your layer 01 function, and we also need the map adjustments and the displacement function. So go back to the content browser again, select the MF displacement and MF map adjustments, and copy it also to your layer 01 folder, copy here. Now we will go back to the layer 01 function and we will check each individual function here that we don't miss any other function which is inside of those. So open the MF tiling function, looks good. Then the MF detail normal tiling function, also don't have any other function in there. Now the map adjustments, this is a bit bigger. So check all the nodes for any other functions we are missing, but it looks good. Okay, oh yeah, we are missing the MF transmission function, so go back to the content browser. You should copy this over, so select it from the displacement folder and copy it over to the layer 01 folder. And go back to the map adjustments here. Looks good, so close it and go back to layer 01 and open the MF displacement function. And this looks also good, so you can close it. Now we will replace all the standard functions with our copied functions, so go back to your content browser, then open up the layer 01 folder. And in here we have all the copies, we need to rename those. Do a right click on the detail normal tiling, select rename, and rename it to layer 01 underscore detail normal tiling. Also for the MF displacement, rename, just replace MF with layer 01. Now map adjustment the same, layer 01 underscore. And also for the MF tiling, also layer 01. And finally for the transmission, rename, replace MF with layer 01. Now in our layer 01 function, we will replace the tiling ones first. So we need MF tiling and the detail normal tiling. So go back and select the layer 01 tiling and layer 01 detail normal tiling and move it to our layer 01 function. Then align it roughly, and we also need to reconnect all the lines from the old functions to the new ones. So hold Ctrl and do a left click on the result pins from the MF tiling and move it to the layer 01 tiling. Also for the rotation angle, move it to the rotation angle of layer 01 tiling. Then we switch over to the detail normal tiling and we will do the same for the result pin and also for the rotation angle. Finally, we will delete all the old functions and move the new functions into place. For the other functions, we need to do the same. So go back to your content browser and select layer 01 map adjustments and layer 01 displacement. Drag and drop it in your layer 01 function. Align it a bit better. Then connect the result pin of the map adjustments to the input pin of our layer 01 displacement function in MA input. Then we need to reconnect all the other pins from the old functions. For the MF displacement function, connect the height input pin to the height input pin of our layer 01 displacement function. Next, move all the other input pins from the map adjustments to the layer 01 map adjustments above, the albedo, the metallic, the roughness, and connect all the other lines to the same input pins of our new function here. And as a last step, make sure that the MA output pin from the layer 01 displacement function is connected to the output result. Then we can delete the old functions. select Displacement, Map Adjustments, delete, and move the new functions into place. Like so. Alright, so this looks good so far. Don't forget to apply and save the material in the top bar. Hit on apply, then on save. Now that we have all our functions implemented here, we can now continue to give all the parameters of all our functions a unique name for the landscape material. Double click the tiling function and then we will check all the parameters. For the tiling offset here, click on it, and for the parameter name, like we did before, just type in layer 01 with a space in between. Copy layer 01 again, and then we will have a look at the group settings. So go down to the material expressions group, paste layer 01 and also type in -tiling, which is our group name for this function. Then select the rotation angle, paste layer 01 before the parameter name, and for the group set it to layer 01 tiling. We don't have any other parameters here, so we can apply and save and close the function. Go back to our layer 01 function and open the detail normal tiling function. Just do a double click and search for any parameter again. Select detail normal tiling and paste the parameter name layer 01 before the name, and also set the group to layer 01 minus detail normal tiling. Hit enter. Then have a look at the other parameter, paste layer 01 before the name. And also for the group settings, set it to layer 01 detail normal tiling. No other parameters, so we can apply and save and close it. Go back and open up the map adjustments function with a double click. Here we have a bit more to check, so go at the top to color and select the albedo controls and paste in layer 01 again before the parameter name. And also define a new group by pasting in layer 01. Then minus space map adjustments. Hit enter. And for the albedo tint, do the same parameter name and also set the group. Then go down to metallic, select the metallic controls, parameter name, paste layer 01 before, also set the group again. Then for specular desaturation, paste in layer 01 before it, select the group to layer 01 map adjustments, and also do the same for base specular, set both of the parameter names here, and then select both of them and define the new group, layer 01 map adjustments, go down to roughness, and here we will do the same. Paste in the layer 01 name before the parameter name, select both and define the new group name. Then head down to normals. Here we have the normal strength. Paste layer 01 before the parameter name, also for the detail normal strength. Paste layer 01. Let's check for other parameters. So we have the detail normal override here, select it and paste layer 01 before the parameter name. This seems to be it, so select all of the 3 parameters. Yeah, looks good. And set the group to our new group here. Okay, next we have the MF transmission. So we need to replace this with our material function because it's still the old one. So go back to the content browser and drag and drop the layer 01 transmission to this function, place it, move the input pin of the albedo to our albedo input pin of the layer 01 transmission, also the result pin, and delete the MF transmission function, move it into place, and check for any other parameter. So we have the use adjusted maps here, paste layer 01 before the parameter name like you did before, and select the group to layer 01 map adjustments. Now, since we are finished with this function, we need to save it again, so click on Apply, Save. In the next step, we will replace all the parameters of the layer 01 transmission, open it, and we can also close the map adjustments function. We don't need it, it's finished. Next, we search for all the other parameters for the SSS color. We paste in layer 01 again. Also set the group to something like layer 01 minus SSS. And for the SSS controls, we do exactly the same. Paste the layer 01 parameter name and set the group. Also for the transmission, define the parameter name, set the group again, it's here, layer 01 SSS. And then we also have the enable SSS parameter. Control V again to paste and set the group to our layer 01 SSS group. Then our transmission function is also done, apply and save. Then close it and go back to our main function. And we've successfully replaced the map adjustments function here. Next and last one is the layer 01 displacement function, so double click it. Now search for any parameter again, like the displacement amount here. Paste layer 01 again before the name. Also define a new group name here again, that we have group names for each individual material function. Next we have the tessellation controls, set the parameter name again with the layer 01 before, and also define the group. And this seems to be it for this function. Apply, save, close this function. And in our main function we are also completely done, so we can save it again and close it. In case you have the MS default material still open, you can close it as well and go back to our landscape master material. And now we can finally add our finished layer 01 function. Just drag and drop it in your landscape master material and connect the result pin to the layer 01 pin. And this is it for our first layer. So we can apply and save the material again. To add another layer, the steps are basically the same, so head back to the content browser. In layer 01 folder, select all of our material functions, move it to layer 02 folder, select copy here, and open the folder. For the second layer, we will do the same like for our first layer. We will give each function an individual name, open each of those and define unique parameter names with the unique groups per function. To do so, rename all of the functions and replace layer 01 with layer 02. I will speed up the whole process now because we will do the same steps like we already did for layer 01. Then open up the layer 02 function. And we will start replacing the layer 01 functions with the layer 02 functions. Like we did before, drag and drop the detail normal tiling and the tiling function of layer 02 to your layer 02 function and reconnect the pins from the old functions to the new ones. When you're done with it, delete the old functions and move the new ones into place. Now to replace map adjustments and displacement, drag and drop the new ones into your layer 02 function. Align it a bit better and connect the result pin to the MA input pin. Reconnect the line from the old displacement function to the new one, and also reconnect all the lines for the old map adjustments to the layer 2 map adjustments. Next, connect the output result and then delete the old functions and move the new ones into place. Now we will replace the parameters and groups again. We will start with the textures. Just replace all the layer 01 namings to layer 02, also for the group. Now we are done with the layer 02 functions, so apply and save. Next we will go inside each individual material function and replace the parameters there. Start with the layer 02 tiling. Set the parameter names and the groups to layer 02 instead of layer 01. Click on apply and save when you're done, close the function and open the detail normal tiling. Also replace all the parameter names and all the group names with layer 02. Then apply and save again, close the function and open the next one, it's map adjustments, open it up, and also here replace all the parameter names from layer 01 to layer 02. Also for the groups, replace layer 01 group name with layer 02, which results in a group name for this material function of layer 02 minus map adjustments as a group name. For the map adjustments function, be aware that we also need to replace the layer 01 transmission function with the layer 02 transmission function like I do here, and reconnect the pins and delete the old one. And finally set the parameter name and the group name for the boolean at the end. Now apply and save the material function and open the layer 02 transmission function and replace the parameter names and also the group names here. Once you're done, apply and save and close the function. Then we will need to adjust the final material function, layer 02 displacement. Replace all the layer 01 namings with layer 02. Apply and save this function, and we are completely done with our layer 02 function. Now we can save and close this material function as well. Now we can add our layer 02 material function to the landscape master material by dragging and dropping it into the material. And then connect the result pin to the layer 02 pin. This is all for the landscape master material. You don't need anything more because everything is handled within the material functions. But in case you want to add more layers, just click on the layer blend node and add additional layers with the plus button like we did before. The only thing you need to do is to copy over all the functions, rename them again and set unique group and parameter names for each material function. So the workflow is the same for additional layers. Since this material is done now, head to the top bar and also here click on apply and save to finalize this material. And finally close it. Now we will create a material instance out of it, so open your main folder and do a right click on landscape master mat. Now select create material instance at the top. Also give it a name, let's just say landscape instance and hit enter. Let's click on save all just to make sure that everything is saved now. Next we will apply the material instance to our already created landscape. Therefore select the landscape first. Make sure that your landscape instance is selected, then search for the landscape material in the details panel and click on the white arrow to apply our material instance to it. Wait for the compilation to be finished and you will see a black surface. This is because we didn't apply any data yet to the landscape layers. To fix this, go to Modes, Landscape, and select the Paint tab. Now under the Landscape tab for the layers, Click on the first layer, then on the plus on the right and choose Weight Blended Layer Normal. Make sure that your map folder is selected and click on OK. Now we do the same for any additional layer. Click on the plus beside the layer name, on Weight Blended Layer Normal, and click on OK to create the data. Then you will see the default materials of layer 1 from our functions. To adjust this, open the material instance and put it somewhere where we can see the landscape as well. Make it a bit bigger that we can see all the parameters there. Just like this. And as you see, the headlines in the material instance represent the group names we defined in our functions. All of them are perfectly grouped, which means that we always know which parameter can be set in which group and for which landscape layer. The best thing is that you have exactly the same controls for each landscape layer like you do for any imported Quixel Bridge displacement material. Once this is done, the first thing we want to do is to assign all the textures for layer 1, so open up the layer 1 textures settings. Now we need to define all the textures here, so first we need to go to the content browser and search for the Megascans Surfaces folder. Open it and select the folder you want to use for your first layer. For me it's the Clover Patches on Grass folder. For the textures in your material instance settings, just click on the checkboxes where you have the texture for. For me it is roughness, then normal. We don't use detail and metalness, but we have the displacement and the albedo. Then select the albedo texture in content browser and click on the white arrow for the albedo in your instance setting. Also do this for the displacement and select the normal. Also click on the white arrow for the normal in the instance and for the roughness also. And the texture setup for your first landscape layer is done. Now we will do the same for the layer 2 texture settings. Click on all the checkboxes we need for the roughness, the normal, the displacement and the albedo. In your content browser, select the second material. For me it's the rocky step material folder. Select the albedo texture, assign it. Also do the same for the displacement map and for the normal map as well. And finally for the roughness map. And we are done with the texture settings for layer 2. Okay, now let's have a look how the layer 1 texture looks when we are in the game. Let's move the instance a bit out of the view and we will also delete the reflection sphere. Therefore, select modes in the top bar, click on select. Select the reflection sphere and hit on delete on your keyboard. Now let's have a quick check on how the texture looks. I think it is a bit too small, so we have to adjust the tiling. But let's jump into the game real quick. Click on play in the top bar. And as you see, the tiling isn't perfect. So go back to the material instance and open the layer 1 tiling settings. Set a checkbox for the tiling offset and set the X and the Y tiling parameter to something like 0.2, which looks a bit better, I think. Okay, it's a bit too big. So go back and set it to 0.3, which should be fine, but we will also try out the second layer. So go under modes, select landscape and click on the paint tab. Now we need to move the instance settings out of the way that we can select our second layer. In the landscape tab, click on the second layer name. Now to paint on the landscape, click and hold the left mouse button and move it over the landscape and the editor will start compiling the shaders. Once the compilation is finished, you should see your second layer. But let's adjust the strength of the brush to see the texture a bit better. Set it to 0.5 and paint again. Let's paint on some areas of the map to see both of the layers. But as you see, the tiling for the second layer is also too small. We need to adjust this in a second. Let's paint some more here. But I think we are good for now. Yeah, so let's go back to your material instance settings. Make it a bit bigger and scroll all the way down to layer 2 tiling settings. Set a checkbox for the tiling offset and set both of the values to 0.1 to make the stony texture quite big. Then click on play in the editor and check the texture size. I think it looks good. Yeah, I think we will leave it like this. Next we can play around with the displacement settings, so close the texture settings and also the tiling and open up the displacement settings for layer 2. Set the checkbox for displacement amount and give it a value of about 10. Then also set a checkbox for the tessellation controls and open it up. For the distance fade amount we set it to 2000. This value defines how far the tessellation should happen based on the distance of the camera. As you see, there's some displacement going on, but not that much, so we need to crank up this value here. So set it to 30. I think 40 is better, let's see. Could be still a bit more, I think. Yeah, it's too flat. Let's crank it up to 50. 50 is good, let's leave it like that. I will also increase the distance fade to 3K. Next we will also set up the grass layer, so layer 1. Scroll up and open the layer 1 displacement settings. Enable both of the parameters and set the displacement amount to a low number 10. And also the distance fade, set it to 1500. Then save the instance and click on play to have a final check in the game. Now we also have a bit of displacement going on around the character for the grass layer, which is great. This brings us to the end of the tutorial. Now it is up to you to tweak all of the material settings to create your perfect landscape material with a lot of tweaking options, layer displacement settings, and the support of various landscape layers. Thanks a lot for watching, don't forget to leave a like and a subscription, and see you in the next video. Bye guys!